Hello, everybody, and welcome to Week 3 of the Spartan Podcast, your source for all news related to Spartan athletics. I'm John Schwartz, Sports Information Director at Case Western Reserve University, bringing you this week's update and another great week in Spartan athletics here. A lot of good stuff to tell you about, and let's get started with the Case Western Reserve University football team, which picked up a huge road win, 55-0 over Grove City. They battled through multiple rain delays during the game to pick up the win, and it ended up being the second largest margin of victory in school history. Great day for senior Brendan Lynch, the wide receiver, with 9 receptions, 220 total yards, and 3 touchdowns. At 222-yard mark, receiving yards that is, matches the school career record, so a fantastic day for Brendan. And he was named to the Division III Football Team of the Week as a receiver and the University Athletic Association Player of the Week as well for offense. Freshman safety Patrick Crossley, he made his first career start in the game and earned PAC Rookie of the Week honors after collecting 6 tackles and forcing a fumble. The Spartans improved to 2-0 overall, and through their first 2 games, get this, they've outscored their opponents 100-17. They have not allowed a point to their 2 opponents in the last 6 quarters that they played. The shutout, by the way, against Grove City was their first since 2014, when they opened up the season with a 30-0 win over Carnegie Mellon. Case Western Reserve University football back in action at Waynesburg on Saturday at 1:30 for a PAC matchup as they look to keep their strong start to the season going. Speaking of strong starts, volleyball 4-1 during the week to improve to 12-1 overall on the season. They did suffer their first loss of the year on Thursday, 3-2 at Mount Union, but bounced back with a 4-0 weekend at the Bishop Invitational. They picked up 3-2 wins over Adrian, Denison, and Defiance, and added a 3-0 win over Grove City for that 4-0 performance at the Bishop Invitational. Freshman Brianna Lemon, great season for her, and it continued this weekend. 96 kills in 5 matches, good for 4.2 kills per set. For the season, she leads all UAA players, and you all know how good a conference this is in terms of volleyball. Well, a freshman, Brianna Lemon from Case Western Reserve, leading all UAA players with 3.61 kills per set, 206 total kills so far this season. And another freshman, Haley Sims for Case Western Reserve, currently 3rd in the UA with a 346 hitting percentage. 2 matches on the docket this weekend for Case Western Reserve University volleyball. They'll be at Baldwin Wallace Wednesday at 7 before returning back home to face Heidelberg Saturday at 1 p.m. Cross country was in action this weekend as well, back after their opening meet of the season, and performed well at 2 meets, the men finishing second out of 29 teams at the Yellow Jacket Invitational, while the women finished 5th out of 27 at the meet. For the men, led by Sam Merriman, who finished 6th overall, the junior, with a time of 26 minutes and 0.2 of a second. Aiden DeSanto, another junior, 15th overall, 26:42.6. And Galen Caldwell, 16th overall, 26 minutes, 43 seconds, and 43.6 seconds to finish 16th overall. For the women, mentioned that 5th place out of 27 teams at the meet. They were led by junior Danielle Kulpins, who finished 22nd overall with a time of 22 minutes, 53.2 seconds. She was followed by sophomore Jennifer Hoffman in 32nd place with a time of 23 minutes, 25.4 seconds, and freshman Vanessa Passett, who finished 45th with a time of 23 minutes and 52 seconds flat. The 2 Spartan teams were also in action at the Berrend Invitational in Erie, Pennsylvania during the weekend as the squad was split. Patrick Leo leading the Spartan men to a 2nd place finish of that meet. He finished 4th overall with a time of 28 minutes, 52.9 seconds, while the women were led by freshman Mallory Mitchum, who led the team to an 8th place finish at the meet. She recorded a time of 22 minutes, 37.8 seconds to finish 33rd overall. The cross-country teams will be off this week before returning to action at the All-Ohio Championships. That is on September 30th. Men's soccer 0-1-1 during the week, a loss and a tie for the Spartans, who dropped to 2-3-1 overall. The tie came at Hiram College on Wednesday night as a 53rd minute goal by Michael Baylaw got the Spartans on the board. However, Hiram tied the game in the 84th minute, and the teams went on to play 2 scoreless overtimes for the 1-1 draw. On Saturday, at number 12 Ohio Northern, the Spartans suffered a 1-0 loss despite outshooting the Polar Bears 18-16, but just couldn't find the back of the net for the equalizer after a 37th-minute goal for the Polar Bears. Spartans will look to bounce back this weekend. They'll be at John Carroll Tuesday night at 7:30, and then at Lycoming on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. That will wrap up a 4-game road trip. Women's soccer suffered a pair of losses this weekend. The first 2 losses of the season dropped the Spartans to 3-2-1 overall. Freshman Kimberly Chen got the Spartans on the board with her second goal of the year versus Baldwin Wallace. That came in the 47th minute of the game last Wednesday. But Baldwin Wallace scored twice in a 2-minute stretch, striking in the 78th and 80th minutes to win 2-1 in that game on Wednesday. Then on Saturday, the women were also at Ohio Northern, 24th ranked team in the country. They fell behind on goals in the 9th and 74th minute to drop behind 2-0 to the Polar Bears. A late goal by Neha Chimolavagu cut the lead in half, that coming in the 87th minute, but not enough for the Spartans, who fell 2-1 in the game. Case Western Reserve will look to bounce back when they return home against Wittenberg on Tuesday night at 6 p.m., and then they will be at John Carroll Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Last but not least, the Case Western Reserve University men's tennis team opened up their season last weekend at a pair of competitions. They faced some high-level Division I competition at the Greater Cincinnati Invitational in Mason, Ohio. Sophomore Rob Stroop had a nice weekend, going 2-1 with wins over players from Xavier and Wright State. He also teamed with Josh Doogie to go 2-1 in doubles matches during the weekend. At the Oberlin Invite, freshmen Sam Concannon, Zach Hennessy, Rajiv Langani, and sophomore Tyler Halsapel all went 2-0 in singles play. Concannon and freshman Rohit Conneru also went 2-1 in doubles action at that Oberlin Invite to cap off a nice weekend for the Spartans. The men's tennis team will be back in action next weekend at the ITA Fall Regionals in Kalamazoo, and also they'll send a group of people to the Purdue Fall Invite. Well, that'll do it for our wrap-up here. Again, we'll have an interview coming up in just a second, as we spoke earlier this week with Case Western Reserve junior cross-country team member Danielle Kulpins, who's off to a great start to her season, following a really nice run at the end of last year when she set the school record in the steeplechase. She had a lot of great stuff to say about both the team and what she's doing off the track and off the cross-country pass, and we'll talk to her in just a minute. I'm here with Danielle Kulpins as we get set for week 3 of the podcast. Danielle is a junior on the women's cross-country team. Danielle, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, again, I always like to get started. I think with cross-country in particular and distance running, it's always this is always an interesting question to ask. But when did you realize, how old were you when you realized that you're pretty good at running long distances and doing it in a relatively fast time?
Well, it took a while for me. I started track in 6th grade, but we didn't do cross country until high school, and I didn't start until my sophomore year in high school. I did volleyball for a very long time, and it took my track team my freshman year in high school to convince me to run cross country.
Okay. So when you're doing that, like when you're running track, were you doing kind of the longer distances, or were you doing sprints back then, or was it?
I didn't run distance until 8th grade, and my mom was trying to convince me. She ran cross country in high school, but I never wanted to. I said, I'm never doing distance. I don't want to run that far. Yeah. But then 8th grade, I started running the mile, and I was convinced that distance is probably a better thing for me. Yeah.
So from Brookfield, Wisconsin, Milwaukee area, right?
Correct.
So, I think sometimes when people think of Wisconsin in particular, they think of farms and silos. Is that what it was like growing up, or was it a little bit more urban where you're from?
I lived in a suburban area.
Okay.
But definitely farms a few minutes from my house, so that's not really a crazy assumption.
So, you come to Case Western, and I imagine training in particular for cross country, you're running through, whatever's around. So I would imagine that's got to be a little bit of a different experience coming here as well, where you're probably a lot more stoplights, I would imagine, than you're used to running through places where you have to stop for traffic, etc.
A lot more stoplights, a lot more sidewalks. Actually, fewer hills here than where I'm from. which is surprising because Wisconsin, most people assume it's flat, but Cleveland's pretty flat compared to Wisconsin.
How about your favorite route to run here? Just if you're going out and going for a run, favorite route to run, around the Cleveland, Case Western Reserve area?
Definitely up on North Park. North Park has beautiful routes. The best is when you go on the little foot trails that are along the river there, because it's like a different world than the city.
Very cool, very cool. So the other thing I want to, and we'll get back to cross country in a second, but this race always holds a special place in my heart because I ran it in high school and I was horrible at it, but you're actually pretty good at it, and that's the steeplechase. I'm trying to make this sound. Is that something you enjoy doing? Because that doesn't look like it. Having run it before, I know it's not necessarily an enjoyable race. It's different, but is that something you enjoy doing? Because that's a really grueling race to run.
I love steeplechase.
Okay.
So I didn't start steeplechase until college. We didn't have it in high school, and I'd never even done hurdles in high school. But coming into college, I told Coach I want to do the steeplechase. I want to try it because it's something different. It looks like fun, and once I started it, I loved it because it's something different. It's not just a 5K. You're not running a 10K on the track. It's not flat. It's not boring. You have something exciting every single lap.
Have you had the moment yet where you go off of the water jump and you kind of just drop straight down instead of propelling yourself? Because again, I ran it, it was not very good, and I had more of those than when I actually propelled myself off it. But have you had that moment yet running it?
Absolutely. The first race, first water jump, I fell flat on my face.
There you go.
And actually the last water jump of my last race too, so it keeps happening.
And if I'm not mistaken, that last race, that you set a school record in that one,
Yeah.
right? So even with that, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool experience though. And you said it, so I would take it that if I were to ask you your favorite season, then you'd probably say cross country, or out of the three, because
I would definitely say cross country. The team aspect is my favorite. It's amazing.
Very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about cross country then. And this year's probably, I would imagine, a little bit different than your previous years, where all of a sudden you're asked to be the lead runner on the team, where in the past you had Kelsey, you had Kristen Ruckstall in front of you. This year you're the lead runner, you're the number one runner on the team. How's that been going for you so far? Is there an adjustment that you've had to make, or is it just letting things come?
It's definitely a different experience for me. In the past, I always had someone to push me in workouts, and I had someone to look ahead to during races. I always knew that they'd be up there no matter how I did in a race. I could always count on them. So now being the one in the front, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more pressure in the sense that I need to do well for my team. But I also feel like I'm contributing more. I'm giving everything to my team, and it's showing.
Yeah. And now, in addition to that, kind of a different makeup to the team this year as well, where it is a relatively young team, and you have a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors, a lot of freshmen even, who are kind of climbing into the top 7 in the group there. Do you see yourself, like I said, a little bit more of a leader on the team, working with some of the younger runners here because you are kind of the lead runner now?
Mm-hmm. I feel that. In our team meeting before the race on Friday night, Coach mentioned that we have a very young team, the youngest she's seen in many years, and how we need to get used to that since people are running the 6K for the first time at that race. I definitely feel like I'm leading them. I'm helping out Vanessa. She's right with me, so we run a lot of our workouts together. And she's a great runner. A lot of the freshmen are great runners. They have experience, but it's still getting them used to college, getting used to how we run our workouts, so helping them out in that way.
You started off the meet at the SUDEC Stampede this year, and you won that, and you set a course record time. And it's an early season meet, and it's certainly, I wouldn't say the biggest meet you run this year, but there's some symbolic importance certainly behind it. And breaking that record, was there any special significance for you for doing that, for kind of passing Kelsey's mark in that meet earlier in the year?
Well, it was surprising to me. I definitely wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting to be that fast or break a record, so exciting in that sense. Also, the time, though, brought me back to high school because we ran 4Ks in high school in Wisconsin, unlike everyone else. And that broke my high school PR also. Okay. So that was a big jump for me.
Very cool. Now, something I always find interesting about cross country is because really you're out there a lot of time, and not that there isn't strategy or things that you're trying to do, but you have a lot of time out there with your own thoughts, basically. What's going through your head when you're running, when you're running a race? Is it strictly focusing on passing the next person? Is there a song in your head? Is there, what goes through your mind when you're running these races?
I try to be focused.
Okay.
I try to. So I'm usually thinking what I need to do, who I need to pass, trying to have positive self-talk, saying you're doing well, good job, you feel strong. I definitely get distracted by little things sometimes, like, oh, there's a butterfly.
Fair enough.
Or there's that friend that I hear cheering for me. But for the most part, I try to be focused.
Fair enough. And how about when you're training too? And I'm sure, obviously there's a lot of team training, but even in the off season when you're running, it's not like you could just take a couple weeks off and not run. Again, are you a music person when you're running? Is it just really going all out? What's your kind of ideal training run look like, and what's going through your mind then?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing in the season, I guess. During the winter, it's a little easier to listen to music because during the summer you're holding on to your phone, you get all sweaty. Yeah. So that doesn't work out so well. But if I'm alone, I'll probably go without music. I'll be thinking about anything from the day, looking at beautiful scenery around me. If it's a workout, I'll be a lot more focused and thinking about the times that I need to hit, and once again, practicing positive self-talk.
Very cool.
But it's the best when I can run with my teammates and talk to them and just have them there for support.
Yeah. Let's talk about goals for this year and start with your own personal goals for this season. Do you lay any out time-wise, any out, individual achievements? What are your goals for this year?
Time-wise, I want to try to break 22 minutes. I got close last year at Oberlin, so if I can do that again, that'd be exciting. Place-wise, I don't know. I really just want our team to do well. If our team can make it to nationals, that would be amazing. It's been really hard these last few years because we've been so close and haven't made it.
Yeah. And that was going to be my next question for you in terms of team goals, and it sounds like that's what you're looking for right now is try to get the team to nationals there.
Yep, that's always the goal.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about what you're doing outside of the athletic environment here and in the classroom. And so you're a nutritional biochemistry and metabolism major and a Spanish major, I guess, too.
Correct.
So kind of a wide range. But let's start with the nutritional biochemistry. What exactly is that? Kind of tell us a little bit about that major and what you do with that.
So this major is really the pre-med requirements plus nutrition, which is good since I'm pre-med. We learn all about basic nutrition all the way to food preparation, which is in my food science lab right now. We're baking things and just modifying the recipes and tasting different foods, which is really fun for me. The point of the major, in my mind, is to learn nutrition that you can apply to your life, apply to your medical field if you become a doctor. And I see that since I want to be a pediatrician, I can definitely apply nutrition to whoever I'm working with.
Well, and I guess that leads to the next one. So you mentioned being a pediatrician here and obviously med school in your future plans, but with this nutrition aspect, it seems like it's becoming a bigger and bigger part of people's lives, smart eating, and I'd imagine that's something you could carry over to your future profession if you wanted.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I see it as I want to work with children and help them to be the healthiest that they can be, which includes exercise that I can speak to since I've been on a cross-country team and track, and nutrition, since I'll have a good idea of how to help them with that too.
Yeah, and then the Spanish major also, so it's a little bit of a mix, but I assume now by this point, if you're majoring in Spanish, you've got to be fluent, or pretty much, right? Is that
hopefully pretty close to that?
Get in there at least, get in there. Well, that sounds great. Let's go ahead and finish up the interview with the same way we finish up all of these, and that's with the Spartan 5, and it'll give everyone out there a little bit of a better kind of knowledge about you and about the team and all that. And we ask the same 5 questions to all the people who come in and do the interview with us. And again, start off with your favorite spot to be on or around campus.
My favorite spot on campus would be Mather Quad. Okay. It's beautiful there in the spring when you get all the tulips coming up and all of the brick buildings. I love it. I can sit there and study and read and just look at the scenery. It's gorgeous.
Very cool. I think this is a particularly interesting question for you because you kind of laid the groundwork for it with your nutrition background here. But your favorite meal to get on or near campus. If you say McDonald's, you're clearly not. You're going to fail out of your major here. But favorite meal.
Pretty close to that. It would definitely be Mitchell's.
Okay.
I love Mitchell's ice cream. I could name almost all the flavors that they have on their menu because every time I go there I sample something and definitely get a lot of ice cream.
a side note to the question, then, do you have a favorite flavor that you go with? Do you have a go-to if you're your default?
I think my favorite flavor at the moment is the vegan dark chocolate.
Okay.
However...
So you redeemed yourself with the vegan aspect to it there, though. So that's a good job by you. You're saving a little face here, but go on, yes.
The caramel fudge brownie.
Okay, well, there you go.
One of my favorites.
Okay. Next question. The funniest person on the cross-country team?
Kate Erickson.
Okay.
She's also junior. I live with her. She does steeplechase with me too.
Okay.
She's the best at telling stories. She can make anything into a story to tell everyone. Just all the voices she uses, and she's also very loud.
Fair enough. Your favorite road trip moment on the Case Western Reserve cross-country or track and field team?
So, throwback to freshman year. We traveled to St. Louis for cross-country UAAs. And we went to a museum there, but not actually a museum. It's like a giant playground inside.
Okay.
And you have all of these structures that are made of wire and stone and metal. And just hanging out there with the team was amazing. We all explored together and had a great time.
Very cool. And your favorite experience as a Spartan?
I think just running on the cross-country team, having the cross-country team as a family here from day one, they were there for me, and we've all stuck together, and we eat together, we live together, we study together, just everything, and I love it. They're home for me here. Very
cool. Well, Danielle, thank you for joining us today. Next meet is coming up in 2 weeks. You guys will be at the All-Ohio Championship, so good luck at that, and then obviously a big season in front of you, UA championships after that. Hopefully some NCAAs for both you and the team this year. So congratulations on a great career so far, Danielle, and good luck going forward.
Thank you very much.